and with me, oh, whoa, here we go. We're like round tripping. Uh, with me, as always, on Wednesdays is Jake from the DeFi Kickstart. He'll be actually, what is it, the 24th and 25th that you're going to be doing that?
It's Saturday through Monday, so 22nd through 24th.
There we
Close.
go. There we go. So, well, you know what? Go ahead and give us a little spiel on that because it's. I know that there's a part of it that's free, and then there's a paid part. So, I mean, I know there's going to be a lot of value, but there's something for everybody. So, go ahead and tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, 100%. I appreciate the opportunity, Mike. So, as you guys know, if you've been following for a while, we did one of these back in July. It's called DeFi Horizon Summit. And DeFi Horizon Summit for us was a massive success. We gave away so much value regarding like how to accumulate more assets and stuff like that throughout 3 days. But the number one feedback that we got was, well, this is great and all, but how do I actually get into this stuff? Like how do I get started? How do I set up a Ledger wallet? So it's like this time around when we do this, we want to make sure that we're covering the basics. And that's what we're focusing on because we have a flock of people that truly just don't know how to get into this. Maybe they've been holding crypto, but never really taken a leap to get into DeFi. And, the main reason why is because they're concerned about security. They're concerned about just not knowing where to start and stuff like that. So that was the biggest pain point amongst the audience. So we're doing that again. And regarding like the free versus paid, last time it was all completely free. Then, within the actual event itself, we had an opportunity to work with us through a boot camp where we did like live training sessions just as a group and everything. In full transparency, like we use these boot camps as a way to provide value and give entry level access to people since our main program is not necessarily affordable to everybody, but also use it as a way to onboard people into the markets and see if they truly do need further support. Because again, for a main program, it's going to be hard for somebody to commit to that right up front if they've never tried these markets out. And we did so well in this boot camp, so much to the point where nobody converted to the main program. And we're kicking ourselves as a team. Why aren't they converting? And we start surveying, the audience and everything like, Jake, like, I would have, but to be honest, this boot camp was just too damn good. I didn't need to go to the next step. And I'm like, okay, well, that tells us. So some sauce here. We're rebranding from the boot camp to something called Yield Architects. It will be a cohort-based learning approach, and there will be an opportunity to join during this upcoming event. But nonetheless, if you do not join, you'll still be provided with immense amount of value for completely free within the challenge itself, and we'll help you get your first positions deployed live. So
nice. What do you got going on, David? I know you got the DeFi University, and that's going well. I'm watching that grow and enjoying watching that grow. Of course, we got DeFi Don and Big Lou in here from your crew. So, what do you guys got going on over there?
Yeah, man. I gotta say, what Jake is doing with getting people their first exposure, so to speak, to DeFi. Do you guys remember when you first started learning how to operate on chain? Do you remember what that feeling was like?
just
You know,
crazy.
I was
right?
lost. It's the thing that kept me out of it was the impermanent loss, trying to figure out what the hell impermanent loss is. And like, it was a specter that was going to take all my money. And so trying to figure that out was my big first hurdle for me. Because it wasn't that long for me. It's been longer for you guys, but it's been a little over a year for me. So yeah, no, I remember. But go ahead, David. Sorry.
Yeah. So, Mike, Jake, you know what it was for me was learning how to move assets efficiently. Bridging and swapping, knowing which protocols to use, and honestly, more importantly, knowing which to avoid. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
if you have a list of stuff to not do, but you have no list of stuff to do, if you just don't do the shit that will lose you money, then you'll probably do okay.
Yeah.
Well, and that's where community is so powerful. Your community at DeFi University, Jake's community, our community with our Discord is all the time. We have new people in there asking, how do I do this? What do I do? What do I not do? How do I bridge? There's a lot of things that just having a community of people that, not necessarily that you can just instantly trust, but that you can ping. I mean, there's been times where I've had questions. I mean, I'm the one that runs the Discord, and every once in a while I'm like, hey, I went to this, protocol that I've been, haven't used for a minute, and this changed. What is this? And they're like, oh yeah, it's this, it's this, it's this. It's like, oh, okay, cool, thanks.
Well, what's really, really valuable is having a group of people who know what the hell they're talking about to ask questions about,
Yeah,
like, so that's really valuable. But what Jake is doing with, some content for people who are just getting started in DeFi and crypto, like that's where I am heading to, because I'm starting to understand that not everyone who's in DeFi, wants a group of like super high level advanced stuff, which is basically what DeFi U is right now. Um, people need to learn how to swap, and they need to learn how to provide liquidity, and they need to learn how to bridge, and they need to learn which protocols to use and which to avoid. So
you guys are getting into my realm. You guys were the advanced guys, and I was the entry level guy, and now you guys are getting into the entry level stuff, which is great. I mean, it's important that that we have that for people, from trusted sources, because onboarding is a huge part of DeFi and crypto in general, and it's why I'm so bullish. Me and David were having a spirited not argument, but a debate earlier.
yeah.
Because I love Arrow and stuff like that, and Base Network and Coinbase is a lot of the issues we dealt with when we came in, and I can only imagine when you gentlemen came in years ago. A
Yeah.
lot of the hurdles that we had to deal with and that we had to overcome, they're eliminating those barriers to entry, with putting DeFi natively on Coinbase, the new Base app, the new Aerodrome platform that's coming out Q2 of next year is going to add a ton of functionality. The bridging you were talking about, it's all going to be in the system. When it comes to atomic swaps, it's not going to be feeless, but you're not going to have to figure out, okay, I need, I need this much ETH, so I need to go sell, this much USDC, and you can just click and it will take it out of multiple different assets that you want to use. It's cross chain. It's just, there's so much, the way that this is evolving and picking up steam. I can only imagine what it's going to be like in a year or two from now.
Yeah, and that's I want to emphasize that. That's really good for user experience in DeFi because when I got in, right, and I'm not sure exactly when you got in, David, but basically like I didn't even know where to on ramp. I would basically buy capital like through MoonPay and stuff like that, and even on Coinbase, I'd buy like some ETH. I'd pay the high fees and everything like that. I'd have to transfer to at that time MetaMask, which was so bad. MetaMask was absolutely horrible. God forbid you wanted to go over to the Avalanche network, you have to go and add the RPC endpoint and the chain ID and stuff like
Yeah.
that manually. And then, not to mention the ability to like track performance and everything. It was just so bad, and now we have tools, not just Metrics Finance, but so many different tools out there that have evolved, that have built. We have AI that makes things simpler. We have Coinbase with not just the Base app. Previously, it was Coinbase Wallet, where you can buy USDC directly through Coinbase Wallet. It goes directly into your Coinbase wallet, into your DeFi wallet, you can call it, fee free. And then you can swap that. So you didn't even have to go over to, Coinbase, buy USDC, transfer it out, and then swap on Matcha. You could go through Coinbase to Coinbase Wallet directly, and then of course, swap. And one day there will be a day where they enable the ability to basically say, "Hey, U.S. dollars to, let's just say ETH," and it will go and it will ultimately take, instead of trading on Coinbase Exchange, it'll take the U.S. dollars, put it into USDC, and bring it directly into what do you
Like a
call it?
pool.
Yeah, as if it was going through an aggregator or something like that. And then you could say, hey, Ethan pool, or even US dollars into pool, US dollars out of pool. There's so
I
many
mean,
different things that have been evolving. So,
and that's what I see is I see that, if you want to, lend out some liquidity, that you can, fund it. You just basically click on, what you want to, what asset you want to lend, and it'll say, where do you want to fund it from? Your bank account, your credit card, whatever. And you just select it, click, boom. It just does it.
mhm,
Um, that's,
exactly.
I definitely see that coming, and it's
Uh,
gonna
you,
change
can
this
you guys
forever.
hear me?
Yeah, we
Yes.
can. Go
Oh,
ahead.
good. Because it shows that my mic is muted, but I'm not muted. I've got something really interesting to add to this conversation about neobanks, basically. That's kind of sort of what we're talking about with the more efficient on ramping here. So in DeFi U over the last couple of weeks, I've put together a ton of research about these neobanks. And let me just walk you guys through, what I use. So I use EtherFi and I use Spritz. I have an EtherFi business account and I have an EtherFi personal account. And I'm running this arbitrage on EtherFi, which is essentially like a reverse credit card. Okay. So let's walk through the on ramping process all the way to the off ramp. So when I on ramp using Spritz, what I can do there is create a virtual ACH account. So it's like a virtual bank account where let's say that I've got a payout from Stripe. Okay. And that goes to the virtual ACH, which instantly sends me stables. So payouts don't go to a business bank account like at Bank of America. My payouts go directly to my DeFi wallet in stablecoins. That's pretty cool. So that's
Yeah.
number one. So let's say, okay, now I've got stables in my wallet. All right, well, if I deposit those stables onto EtherFi into the liquid USD vault, that stablecoin vault on EtherFi is paying like a little bit greater than 11% APY.
Beautiful.
So yeah, right, 11%. That's like
Yeah.
11% on your savings account or your checkings account, depending on
You're
how you
outpacing
want.
inflation.
It's phenomenal, right? So you've got this, 11% you're earning on your checking. And then if you turn EtherFi onto borrow mode, then when you spend in real life, you are borrowing against the vault tokens earning 11% APY and you're paying 4% to borrow. So if you're earning 11% and paying 4% to borrow, then you've got a 7-point spread.
Mhm.
So when you run the numbers, it takes between 60 and 70 months for your purchases to be paid off as a result of that 7-point arbitrage. That's a reverse credit card. That's
Mm.
pretty cool, right? So I'm running that on my personal, I'm running that on my business. And dude, these neobanks, there are a lot of them. There's a lot of them. There's like 50 of them that I've been able to identify so far. And I mean, look, the use case for this technology, for this blockchain technology, if I'm being completely honest, like the use case for Bitcoin, I don't think is as clear as the use case for the smart contract platforms.
I would
Oh,
Um,
agree.
yeah. No,
I
of
would
course.
100% agree.
yeah, the mining business model for Bitcoin miners is pretty horrible. You can't really use Bitcoin for like regular purchases, which I think needs to happen if those miners are going to have a shot at existing 10 years from now.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, not to mention, David, like the Bitcoin halving and whatnot, eventually it will just become so little Bitcoin being put in circulation. I don't think the demand is going to outpace it because you have diminishing returns over time for Bitcoin.
Mhm.
And yeah, you have diminishing Bitcoin that are being put into circulation. But I
Well, and the
really
cost to
think,
mine isn't diminishing.
yeah.
Right, exactly. I mean, all of those mining rigs, like I've mined Bitcoin with ASICs. They're extremely expensive, they're very loud, they consume a ton of electricity, and they become obsolete quickly.
Yeah.
So, like, those are not good things if you're like a Bitcoin mining operator. Like you need free electricity, you need access to capital markets so that you can refresh your rigs every couple of years. And like if you're not earning enough from block rewards, then at some point you're going to go bankrupt. So like there's got to be like real daily use of blockchain of Bitcoin for like regular purchases. And so that could mean Lightning, because if you guys have ever used the Lightning network, man, it's one of my favorite payment networks, if not my very favorite. Because number
Yeah.
one, it's Bitcoin. Number two, it's basically instantaneous. Number three, it's not easily censorable. And number four, it's basically free. It's like one Satoshi transfers,
Mm.
payments. So Bitcoin Lightning is great, but no one uses it. So like there's no transaction volume there. So that means there's no fees for miners to earn. So
Mhm.
I'm unclear on how Bitcoin miners survive over the next 10 years, to be completely honest, unless Bitcoin is at $1 million. And then
That
even
that was
with,
going to be my point. Is if the
yeah,
price, the basically they're mining less Bitcoin, but the price appreciation offsets those losses or
uh,
exceeds.
that's a
That's the
big
only way
gamble,
I
though.
can. Yeah.
Those mining operators, man, that is a big gamble because, look, anything can happen. But the use case for the smart contract platforms, to me anyway, is much, much more clear. Like, I live off of Ethereum and these
Mhm.
neobanks. And dude, like, you can't even compare it to the stuff in traditional finance. Like, it is orders of magnitude
Oh,
better.
yeah.
So,
It's
yes. So,
there's like no pros to using a traditional bank, and there's almost all pros, using the banks that you're talking about, like EtherFi.
oh yeah. So I mean, the neobanks, I think banking, that's just one use case. You're going to also need, identity fi. So you're going to need to be able to prove that you're a human and that you are who you say you are. And if you're going to make like a purchase where you have to prove that you're of legal age or something like that, well, you don't need to be showing an ID that gives someone your address. Like they don't need to know your address to prove if you're of legal age or not. So, identify, I think, is a real use case. I
And
think,
regarding Identify too, David, something that I wanted to chime in on that. Like, imagine a world where you want to go to, let's just say, the store, and you want to buy, say, a bottle of wine, a bottle of tequila, whatever floats your boat, right?
tequila. I like tequila, man.
I like tequila too.
Yeah.
Instead of swiping your card, getting carded with, depending on how old you look, sometimes they don't even do. But like, imagine a perfect world where everybody gets carded and you have to, and there's no fake IDs or whatever. And ultimately, you have a digital ID that is stored on the blockchain. You go and
Yeah,
you pay in crypto. Maybe you just tap your phone and it gets the screen and it automatically takes it out of your crypto wallet. But simultaneously, it's
it IDs
analyzing the crypto wallet you're paying out of, and it's
you.
associating that, saying, hey, here's an NFT or here's a digital ID that's also returning to this wallet saying that this person is above 21 years old. And then
Mhm.
boom, you don't even have to flash an ID. There's no fraud that can be done there either. There's no fake IDs because there's a one collection digital ID or something along those lines. Imagine a world where that can happen. Now, again, we're light years away from that.
Oh,
Are
you
we? Are we though? I think it could be a lot more, a lot closer than maybe we think. You look at a protocol like World. Look, I don't like Sam Altman, but that doesn't matter. The protocol is really interesting. The World
Yeah.
protocol. So maybe that gains some adoption, but I
But
don't
we
know,
also
man.
got, like, driver's license on Apple Pay about like half a year ago, and I don't even think they're fully onboarded. So that's the thing. Like, for governments to want to adopt this technology within the actual governmental infrastructure itself, it's going to take a while, I would say.
it might not that might not be that far off either.
Yeah.
Avalanche, the California DMV, they started using Avalanche for car titles.
And aren't they building it into their chain too? Aren't they upgrading it? Isn't it called Granite? Their upgrade?
I'm not sure about that. I just know that there are states and there are government entities that are onboarding crypto technology. They're
Yeah,
upgrading systems and things like that. So yeah, no, I mean David is accurate. Is it might not be as far off as we think.
Fair
It's, I
point,
mean,
man.
like the internet. Kind
yeah.
of 1 second, you got a dial-up modem screaming at you, and then next minute you have
You
DSL, and
guys
then
remember those things? Those
oh,
dial-up modems?
so terrible, dude. It's like
I
then
remember.
somebody picks up the phone. You're trying to get online. Somebody picks up the phone to make a phone call. Damn
Yeah,
it! That's
yeah.
15 minutes. I've been trying to get online.
or you're trying to download something, and it's a 56K dial-up modem, so it
Oh,
takes 6 hours.
terrible.
and then you get a
Terrible.
phone call, and one of your siblings picks up the phone and it
Yep.
disconnects you, and then you got to
Yep.
start it all over again.
My
Oh,
my
terrible.
recollection is picking up the phone on the wall and dialing from there, and then also being able to listen to other calls from the other phones in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's my recollection.
yeah,
Yeah.
man. So I mean, look, the banking stuff. It looks to me like everything is going to migrate onto DeFi rails, blockchain rails,
Absolutely.
like as quickly as possible, because it's clear that the DeFi rails are far superior to whatever it is that traditional banks are using right now. I've heard, and I don't know this for certain, but I've heard that a lot of the like TradFi banking databases are built using like a programming language from like 1950, and
Yeah.
like
They're all like
you know
MS-DOS.
no, like not even DOS. Like DOS would be a huge upgrade. It was like, it's called like Carmel or Carmit or
That sounds
something.
familiar.
Yeah. It's like some ancient programming language. It's got like a blue logo or something like that. Um, yeah, man. So it would be a big upgrade. But the banking stuff, that's just one piece. The identity stuff, I think that is going to come also. But what about owning your own health information?
Mm,
HealthFi, you
There's
know?
a couple of different projects out there that are specifically geared up for that, for health records and HIPAA compliant and things like that. Trying to remember which project that was doing that. If it was like
There's one,
Polygon or
it's on Sui. There's a
well,
ring that you can buy.
no, I'm talking where they were wanting to actually put health records, like your actual physical health records on chain. It was probably about 4 or 5 years ago. I'm wanting to say it was Polygon that was working on that, but anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. But I mean, so I think it's multiple chains. I put together a slide deck on HealthFi protocols, and you're right. Polygon's one of them. Sui's another. I think it's probably on a bunch of different chains, but imagine being able to own your own health information,
Mm-hmm.
because obviously health information is valuable. Otherwise, you wouldn't have companies like 23andMe and others, incentivizing people to, hey, send us your DNA so that we
Oh,
can build this massive
who,
database and
who
then
was that?
sell it to the Chinese.
Well,
Like
dude, there was a company that bought 23andMe so they could have access to the DNA database.
right,
I
exactly,
mean,
because
but
that's
I mean, you can have your health records in, if it was on chain, you could have your health records in your crypto wallet, go to the doctor and, scan and boom, they have all your records. They wouldn't have to be requesting them from other doctors and all that. Just wherever you go, you have them with you.
Yeah, but also you own it so that you can authorize people to view it, but only the people that you authorize to view it. So I worked in healthcare for a little while,
People with a
and
medical fetish, you
bro,
could have an OnlyFans where they can look at your medical records for a fee.
I mean, like I can think of all sorts of different ways to monetize, the medical records for yourself that you
Yeah,
own, right?
yeah.
If you own your own medical data, you could probably sell that to someone. It's probably worth something. Um, but HealthFi, IdentityFi, um, and there was a third one, PayFi,
Mhm.
payments, of course. So, these are three real use cases for these smart contract platforms. And so when I look at the types of moves that we've seen, for Ethereum in March of this year, you guys, was at $1,344 in March. Okay. So ETH went from 1344 to 49, I think it was 49.50, 49.80. So that's nearly a 4x, not quite a 4x in what was it, like 90 days, 120 days, a little bit more than 3x in that period of time. That's a massive move. Okay. And ETH has like 80% vol. So for ETH to run from 1350 to 49.50 in 90 or 100 days, hey, it makes a lot of sense to me for it to give back half of that move or more That would be just normal volatility for Ethereum. But it doesn't mean that all of a sudden everything's over and all of these protocols that are building these real things that have real value and real utility, that doesn't just go away because ETH went from 5K to 3K.
Mhm.
So ETH could continue to move lower. And honestly, like I'm thinking about where do I buy? Where do I buy some more? I'm thinking about adding to my Ethereum position. But here's a question: how do you project the future value of ETH? Because it's not an equity. The Ethereum Foundation, it's really not a super successful business either. So
Mhm.
it doesn't really make all that much money. So how do you like project the future value? If you're going to say, hey, I don't want to just gamble on ETH number go up, how do I model it? And I got to think that the best way to do it maybe is like user growth. Is the price of these digital assets, like Ethereum, is it a function of user growth or not? Um, I don't
I mean,
know.
that's how a lot of social media is valued. If you look at Facebook and stuff like that, it's eyeballs. It's how many sets of eyeballs is looking at it every day. So yeah, maybe that's how they value blockchain technology is how many users, how many people are utilizing that technology or that chain.
Yeah, because I mean, a fair value for ETH, it could be $500. I don't know. Or is it $50,000? I'm not sure because there's really no legitimate way of modeling it. Like when people like Tom Lee say, "Oh, well, Circle has a 60x multiple or something," you
Watching
know,
David's like watching a slideshow right now.
I'm not watching a slideshow. I'm just off
Like,
off the cuff, man. Well, I'm looking around and stuff. But no, man. Like, so if people like Tom Lee are trying to
yep, there
apply,
he
like,
goes.
oh, I'm back.
You're back.
So people like Tom Lee are trying to apply like a stock market multiple, like a PE multiple to Ethereum. And when he was really saying that, he was saying after Circle IPO'd and Rip Tire, it was trading at like some crazy PE multiple. Uh, then Tom Lee was saying, well, if you just use the same PE on ETH, then it's $60,000 ETH. I always thought that argument wasn't exactly the best, but what alternative is there? Like, what's a better argument? Are you going to use some stock to flow, or like what's a better way of modeling it? I
Well,
don't know.
I would
let's
completely agree, David, and
oh,
to
go
chime in on the chat for Jacob saying, "Well, by that metric, my 88 bags just fell off a cliff." You're absolutely right. Like between a lot of these different chains and a lot of these different tokens in general, they will be wiped out. And it might be a slow burn where it's just like they don't gain any traction and they're slowly sold off and just left behind. Which honestly, I think that's the route that we're moving. Or it might be a big drop off one day when the market tanks. It just tanks 80% and never comes back and then burns a slow death. And it's kind of like what we were talking about last week where about alt season. It's like, will we see an alt season where altcoins just randomly go up because it sounds like a cool project? I don't think so. Where they have no product and all of a sudden they're going to a multi-billion-dollar market cap. Most likely not. We're most likely not going to see that this run. But what we will probably see is an opportunity where altcoins do start to run, but those altcoins that are participating in actual business models somehow bringing that back to their investors where that are holding their token somehow returning value, and whether that's through being a security where they're doing staking, earn more tokens, or staking and get a share of the revenue, whether that's buyback and burns, that's probably what we'll see do well this time around, just based on what I'm seeing. But for the most part, I think a lot of these things are going to be left in the dump, and I've been taking that into account in my portfolio and just slowly like getting more risk off, and like allocating the stuff that I truly believe in, like PayFi, HealthFi, stuff like that.
Well, that's a great segue into the second half of the show, let's really dive into what we're doing at our different levels and kind of our different goals and stuff like that. Because I mean, the three of us have very different skill levels, and we're trying to accomplish different things financially, or going about it differently at least. So we talked about getting back to the basics. I know me myself. I have taken a stance where, and I agree 100% with what you just said, Jake, that we are moving out of that speculation. Past cycles, pretty much it's just been, projects would come out and say, we're going to cure cancer, and, our blockchain is going to cure cancer, and, it would go parabolic, with everything. Just people could make any claim whatsoever. There was no proof of concept required. There was, they didn't have to have anything built. It was just, this is what we want to do. And they go parabolic like everything else. However, I really do think that we're getting into cycles to where they're not just going to be up and to the right. It's going to be, up and down and up and down and up and down. And it's going to be, more drawn out. And I know what I've done is I've been trying to watch which projects are, because I'm laser focused on DeFi and RWAs. I'm looking at the projects that have huge backing by certain entities like Coinbase, BlackRock, banks, JP Morgan, things like that. Where are they building? Ethereum, Base Network, things like that. And then the protocols, the DeFi protocols that are being are starting to have interoperability, cross-chain, cross protocols. They're basically going to be part of the new financial system. If something's off on its own, I'm not interested. I mean, I don't care how big of a project it is. If it's not integrated, if it's not cross-chain, and I want to see stuff like Aave and Morpho, working together. I want to see stuff like Aerodrome, where you can be investing in RWAs, which is my understanding of what's coming with the new platform. Those are the sorts of things that I'm looking at, and where I'm trying to focus my efforts. So what's something that David, kind of what are you doing right now with what we're dealing with in the market? How are you getting back to basics to kind of hit the reset button and get your footing? Because I know that no matter what, we've all been kind of blindsided by the markets.
I haven't been blindsided except for October 10th. October 10th was I got attacked by the orange wizard of tariffs. It was pretty horrible.
Well, he has some powerful magic.
Yeah, I mean, look, I love that guy, but fucking A, man. So, outside of, taking on too much leverage and being caught off sides on October 10th, outside of that, I mean, I'm short. I've been short for the last couple of weeks, and it's been working really, really well. What I'm finding out, though, is that it's a lot more difficult for me psychologically to press a short than it was for me to press my longs. I'll give you an example. So right now I'm short ETH, and I've been short ETH. I'm -8. Okay, so I've got 8 short ETH deltas. On the way up in August, in July, August into September, I was plus 110. So I was long 110 ETH on the way up, but on the way down, I can only get myself to like -10. Like it's much more difficult psychologically for me to press a short. So all I'm doing is I've built a strategy that is super, super simple. And what I'm focused on right now, Mike and Jake, is modeling it. That's my focus, so that I can, because it's modeling and then really, really tracking it the very best that I possibly can, like tracking my P&L over time. And so here's the strategy, super simple.
Are you using Metrics Finance?
Metric, man. So it's super, super simple. There are 2 components, a CLP and a hedge on a perp stacks. And you don't have to use leverage on either. You can run this with no leverage. And all you got to do is identify, for me, I'm using Ethereum, identify an ETH stablecoin pool that has consistently elevated volume. So for me, I'm going to be either on mainnet or on base. So I'll pick an ETH stablecoin pool, something like wrapped ETH USDC on mainnet, let's say. On Uniswap
And I'm
V3,
guessing on mainnet, you're making sure that it's a decent position, a decent size
yeah,
position.
yeah, but also I don't rebalance all that often.
Hmm.
So, not that gas intensive. So, you got a CLP, and then you've got your hedge on a perp stacks, and you don't need to use any leverage on the hedge. And so if you've got your CLP and you've got your hedge, well, if they are sized equally, let's say that you're plus 10 ETH in the CLP, and at the bottom of the range, you'd be plus 10. And then you're minus 10 in the perpstacks hedge, that will make you never long. You will never be long in a position like that. You can only ever be short. So basically, it's just a matter of earning enough yield from the CLP and the funding rate on the short perps position to get to the point where you've earned greater than the initial margin you deposited on the perp stacks. Once you get to that point, which depending on how wide your range is, could take between 60 and 90 days, maybe a little bit longer than that if you've got a really wide range. But once you get to that point, then you can't lose on the system. So that's the strategy that I've been running. And I run a 10% wide range in my ETH USDC position. And look, man, it's hasn't done less than 270% since last Thursday.
Nice.
Like there have been a couple of days where it's done 1,800%, especially when ETH really moves. So because I'm hedged, I actually want ETH to move lower. So that's been working really well. And I guess on the topic of like getting back to basics, um, don't use leverage if you're going to run it. I think that would be the thing. Like, stay away from leverage if at all possible. So that's what I'm doing, and it's been working.
Perfect. Jake, what are you doing, brother?
I mean, same old accumulating assets, but to the argument that we were discussing earlier, like about if assets do drop a ton, it's like you really have to think about your specific situation. Like me, obviously I'm busy running the businesses and everything, and spending more time trying to stay up to date in the market and like actively manage my portfolio. And when I say actively manage, I mean like an hour a day plus. It takes away time from the business, which causes lost revenue or opportunity cost for the business to the point where it's more worth it to focus on the business. Additionally, crypto is one of my baskets within my basket of eggs, right? The largest one. It's a pretty damn big egg, but it's still just one of them. But in terms of where I think we're headed, again, I think that we need to be allocating to high revenue assets that have low market caps. Like just find no brainer opportunities because they're out there. You don't have to find 10 of them. You just have to find a couple and make, bets on them basically, strategically, of course, and risk adjusted. But a couple things that I wanted to just mention real quick. There's the Kabesi letter, and they put out a post basically that says our current situation. Actually, I want to read it from the top. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and just show it on screen. How about that?
All right.
I like that guy, Kobayashi with a K.
Yeah, with a K. I don't
Yeah,
know if I
yeah,
said it right.
Oh,
yeah.
is that supposed to be like in reference to the Kobayashi Maru, the Star Trek?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
It's
But
basically, and I'm going to totally nerd myself out, but it's basically the unwinnable scenario.
okay.
I think that this is a guy's last name. I think Kobayashi. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. No, I don't think that's it. But sorry, go ahead. I was just
Hey, you're
nerding
good.
out.
So, like, one of the members of my team sent this to me. So, what did 2020/2021 have that 2022 didn't? Short answer, and even now, short answer, a metric shit ton of fresh cash being pumped in the global economy, more money in people's pockets, more money to spend on crypto, right? So, the outlook for 2026, our current situation, the US is preparing $2,000 stimulus checks. Japan is preparing a $110 billion stimulus package. China has approved a $1.4 trillion stimulus package. The Fed is officially ending QT on December 1st. The US is issuing 1.9 trillion in treasuries per year. Canada is restarting its quantitative easing program, which TLDR is a monetary policy where a bank injects money into the economy by purchasing assets like government bonds from financial institutions. Canada, or sorry, I already said that one. Global M2 money supply is at a record $137 trillion, meaning more money in people's pockets. Global rate cuts are at a 320 plus over the last 24 months, basically. So ultimately, things are shaping up, right? Money's going into the hands of the people next year, ideally. People are no longer going to be worried about paycheck to paycheck. I mean, they still will be, but they'll be less worried, and there'll be less people that are worried, I should say, about being paycheck to paycheck. And there'll be more money in the economy to spend on crypto. Hopefully turning us bullish.
Yeah, buy my bags. Get a
Yeah.
stimulus
Yeah,
check.
yeah.
Buy
Damn
my
it.
bags.
Damn it, people buy crypto so my bags go up so I can dump them on. But
So, Jake, that stuff is great, man, and I could give you counterpoints to each
Okay.
of those. Actually, I don't know if you can share it again, but this could be an
yeah,
interesting conversation.
Yeah, let me
Uh,
start it back up.
So, all of the structural stuff that you're mentioning here, it's not as if, and it's not that you're mentioning it, Jake, it's Kobayashi or whatever. It's not like this is all a foregone conclusion. Okay, so number one, the US preparing $2,000 stimulus checks. Okay, I want to hedge this. I love what Trump is doing culturally. Okay, I really do. Like, you know, we can't have 20 million people here not paying into the social security net and drawing from it. And if people don't want to integrate, then they shouldn't be here. So the deportations, that is due process, in my opinion. But the stimulus checks come from the tariffs, okay? And the tariffs, my understanding from what I've read, those tariffs ain't legal, bro. Like the president can't unilaterally just put tariffs on goods and services and stuff. Like it has
there's
to
a
be
couple of courts that would agree with you.
it
It's
has to be Congress. It's not
Yeah.
that the tariffs are illegal, it's that the president can't unilaterally do it. It
he just
has to
doesn't
be
have the
done.
authority.
Right. He doesn't have the authority to do it. Congress does. And so I listened to the Supreme Court arguments where, there's an attorney for the Trump administration putting forth the argument that Trump has the authority to do this. Dude, he got destroyed. Like those Supreme Court justices were not having it. And look, it's because it's not legal. Like
Yeah.
the Congress needs to do it, bro. So like this whole idea of $2,000 stimulus checks, like how is that legal? I don't know.
That's a political move, I think.
Right. It
If you're
looks
telling
like
people
that.
that if the tariffs stay in place, that they're going to get a free $2,000, then they're going to
Yeah.
come
No,
with the pitchforks and the torches. If the
it's like,
courts
let's
and
go.
the
Right.
Democrats and stuff
Right.
like
But
that are saying that the tariffs aren't legal, because
for
you know
sure.
he'll
It's
get up there.
buying voters is what it
Well,
is,
he'll
basically.
get up on the pulpit and be like, "I wanted to give you $2,000 each, but them Democrats, and them
Yeah.
courts, they don't want you to have it."
Yeah, but when you really break it down, importers pay these tariffs. They're a tax. The president doesn't have the authority to impose that tax. And, there's going to be some type of pass through eventually. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but like, if you're imposing an extra tax on businesses, like eventually that's not going to be good. But you know what? I think that what Trump is doing makes a ton of sense because we've been tariffed halfway to hell by other countries. And it's
Mhm.
resulted in a massive trade deficit, and we've been exporting jobs for decades. I am
Mhm.
all for the tariffs. And it's a
Yep.
great negotiating tool, it brings people to the table, but it's not legal. So, like the $2,000 stimulus checks, I don't think that'll ever happen. Um, but okay, let's say that happens. Great, that would be awesome. Let's move on to number two. Japan is preparing $110 billion. Notice it's denominated in dollars. Stimulus package. Well, there's no way in the world they'll be able to do that because yields on their long dated paper have been blowing out. You see, Japan is trying to do two things at once. The new PM was elected because prime minister was elected
Nope.
because, well, turns out that when you import tens of thousands, oh, did you lose me? Am I still here?
Oh, you're back.
Um,
Just for a
I don't
second.
because I'm good. Okay, yeah, yeah. So what the PM in Japan is doing is she was elected ostensibly to deport all of the Africans that were imported into Japan. I don't understand why these Western democracies think it's a good idea to import people who are not compatible culturally and have no intention of assimilating and have no skills. Like
Mhm.
these things don't make sense. So the Japanese people said, hey, we don't want all of these useless immigrants here, deport them. And that's why they elected that PM. So she's going to do that. But she's also trying to give the Japanese people a bunch of free stuff. That's what that $110 billion in stimulus is, free stuff. While at the same time, they're rebuilding their military. So you can only have one. You can't have the free stuff and rebuild your military at the
Yeah.
same time. So they're going to
I'll
rebuild their
tell you
military.
where, all the tariff money, it needs to go to pay off our freaking debt. I mean,
Yeah.
that's where it needs to go. I mean, yeah, I would love to have, a couple $1,000, but unfortunately, we're not in a position to be giving out, stimmy checks.
No,
Yeah,
not
and so Jake, I can't see the Kobayashi thing, but so that was point number two. So like, if you look at long dated yields on Japanese bonds, dude, they're going through the roof. And what that means is investors are not willing to lend to the Japanese at these current rates. And so the Japanese yen is likely to continue inflating away as long dated yields rise in Japan. And by the
Well,
way, the Bank of Japan, you guys, owns like greater than 50% of the bond market in Japan.
Mhm.
So that currency is going to continue to inflate. And I just don't see them being able to rebuild the military and give away free stuff at the same time.
Well, for the last 10, 15 minutes, let's shift back because I know that a lot of people out there, just watching the chats this morning, and like I always do, it gives me a finger on the pulse of the mood and the temperature of everyone out there. And I know a lot of people right now are wondering, do I sell now, cut my losses? Do I hodl my bags, and just sit on them? Do I, get into DeFi? Do I trade? What do I do to, go into survival mode until this market decides what it wants to do? And I know me myself, what I've done is most of my positions are either in hodl positions or I'm lending them out so that I still get full price appreciation, but I'm still earning, or full range pools. Because if we go lower, my bags don't go down as much because, I'm in a USDC, like my arrow is in a USDC arrow position. So it kind of mitigates the downside a little bit, because it's selling off my arrow into USDC. Of course, if it goes up, it's going to be the same thing. I'm not going to get as much price appreciation, but I'm earning about 30% APR right now, pretty steadily. So that's kind of what I'm doing. It's not fancy, it's not sexy, but honestly, it's earned me enough that 2 days ago I did another arrow lock of 2,500 arrow, and here another.
Yay!
It
Yay!
I freaking love arrow. It's probably been my biggest earner. Especially my locks. I mean, I've said it before. I started out with 5,100 arrow and got up to 11,000, between the flight school bonus and the weekly compounding yield. And then I just did another one for 2,500 bucks. And I'll be getting a flight school bonus on that, and plan on doing the same with that. And so, I mean,
Where did the
basically
flight school bonuses come from, Mike?
they come from the minting of the new arrow, because that's the way that it's paid out. And the fees that are paid out on the arrow platform, if you stake, if you're in an LP and you stake, you get paid out in arrow. So, that's what they pay that out with. If you don't stake, you get paid in the assets of the pool. But
Yeah.
the cool thing that's about to happen is that Velodrome and Aerodrome are merging. And that's why, I said Q2 of 2026 that, that new platform's coming out. It's going to be multi-chain and have all that functionality that I mentioned before. But the way that the Aerodrome platform works is there is no business behind it. So they're not taking money out of the fees. So anything that's not paid out to the locks or to fees for the liquidity pools is max locked and taken out of circulation.
Mm.
And then with the new platform, they're actually plussing up on a lot of that deflationary aspects to where it's going to be 85, I think it was 85% deflationary is what they were going to do because of taking tokens out of circulation and max locking them. So yeah, it's Arrow is one that I'm really bullish on just because I've seen how it's being integrated into Coinbase, the amount of volume on the base network that it monopolizes, and just how well that it's paid out. I mean, I know that David, you've mentioned your concerns, and Jake, concerned with the tokenomics, but yeah, it seems like every time I turn around, they're improving. They're doing something that's making it better to hold Arrow.
Mhm.
And it's so yeah, like I said, that's kind of one of my long-term moves. And again, what I was talking about before with looking at these platforms that are becoming a integral part of the kind of the DeFi network that's being built out to bridge TradFi and DeFi. It's definitely positioned as being a nexus for all of that. So
Right. So here's a question to you, Mike. There are a bunch of these VE33 protocols, these VE33 dexes.
yeah, there's
With
a Black Hole, Velodrome, and Aerodrome come to mind.
Yeah, you got I think Equalizer is one. You've got Ramses is another one. You've got Velodrome and Aerodrome, of course. You've got
Mhm.
Black Hole. That's five.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not familiar with the native token performance for all of them, but I am familiar with Arrow's performance.
Mhm.
And I think the differentiating factor between Aerodrome and all the rest of them is Coinbase. But when
Mhm.
you take a look at these native DEX tokens for all the other VE33 DEXs,
Mhm.
I'd be willing to bet that all of them have done nothing but go down. And Arrow did nothing but go down until Coinbase announced the investment in Aerodrome.
Mhm.
So, and that was in, I think, February of last year. So,
Well,
like,
and changes to the tokenomics. There's it's evolved quite a bit.
yeah, but it hasn't. So it's still inflationary to the tune of 8%. And all those changes that you just mentioned, I don't think that those have passed yet, have they? So it's
Well,
still
it's
inflationary.
well, no, those changes are happening, and it's not necessarily inflationary. And please correct me if I'm wrong. If whatever tokens aren't paid out in fees and paid out to locks, all of those extra tokens don't go into circulation. They get max locked and taken out of circulation.
Right, but I don't think that that's actually happening. And I think it was a proposal that still needs to be voted on and pass. And
No,
what I
that's happening.
okay,
Anything that's not paid out is max locked.
okay. Um, so here's something to think about. What is the value proposition for holding Arrow? Like, why hold Arrow? Why should Arrow be trading for anything above zero? What's the value for this Arrow token? I don't understand the value proposition behind holding Arrow, especially
What's
when I look at the other VE33 dexes where, those native dex tokens, they're so inflationary. And what I read today is that Aerodrome is still like an 8% inflation rate. the Arrow token. So it's like, why hold it? Because if you're
Because
earning,
you can earn more than eight if you can earn more than 8%. Plus, I mean, to that logic, why hold any crypto? Why hold the US dollar?
yeah, I
You
don't
know?
think that that's a valid argument. I think that there are real reasons to hold dollars or to hold ETH. I don't think that I don't see it anyway. If there's a
Well,
real
like
reason to hold
Bitcoin.
Arrow,
I mean, other than the fact that there's a limited supply, I mean, there's nothing that makes Bitcoin special.
I think that there is, though. I think that there is something special about Bitcoin. It's a truly decentralized, non sovereign digital bearer asset. And none of these other digital assets have that in common, I don't
Zcash
think.
has that.
Not quite as decentralized as Bitcoin, I would say.
No, I mean, but at different degrees. But I mean, that's basically my point. Is just something is as valuable as what somebody's willing to pay for it. If I was trying to sell you a bottle of water right now, you'd probably be like, "No, I'm good." You're dying of thirst in a desert. You'd pay a lot more for it. It's all about, what's
Mike, I'll give you 5/10 of a penny for your Arrow because that's what I think it's worth, man.
that's what you think it's worth. You
Yeah,
know, it's
yeah.
same thing with like diamonds. Diamonds.
Oh,
People
that's
pay
such
it.
a scam. That's such a
It
scam, bro.
is
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
It's what people are willing to pay for it.
I just don't see the value prop for those VE33 native DEX tokens at all. Um,
It's
if
a
I'm
yield
gonna,
bearing asset.
it
You know, I,
looks like a
I
it
can
looks
I
like a
can lock in
scheme.
and I can earn.
Yeah, but so what? If you're earning 30% on a lock and you can't touch it for 4 years, and the
No,
inflation,
the yield that I'm earning, I can cash that out every week.
great. Let's talk about just the lock though. So if you're earning 30% on the lock, the token is inflationary to the tune of 8%. Now
Mhm.
that's it sounds like that's going to change maybe. But so you're earning 30% on the lock, you can
Mhm.
cash that out, great. And the token is inflationary to the tune of 8%. Well, what happens when the token price is down by 50% from your entry? Then, I mean, how long do you have to hold it and continue to earn that 30% APY and compound it just to break even? It seems like it's a
And the whole
really,
time I'm earning was when it went from $2.20 down to 30 cents, I was stacking all the way down at 30 cents and all the way back up.
right.
That's how
But
crypto works, brother. I mean, it's how ETH works. You know,
yeah,
you're
I don't
you're
know,
getting
bro.
you're buying and earning ETH at a high valuation. It goes down, you keep earning, you keep stacking, it goes back up.
Yeah, but my unit
That's
of
how all of them are
account
working.
is the dollar, and I measure my performance in dollars, so not in Arrow. Like if I wanted to just measure my performance in Arrow, it'd be super easy to be profitable. But I measure my performance in US dollars, and I see so much risk with the Arrow token that, like, I mean, just because
People said
Coinbase,
the same thing about Bitcoin at the beginning. I
yeah, but
I
I
did
don't
when my buddy told me about it.
Good about Bitcoin as well. I would say. I think there's an argument to be made that Bitcoin is just some random like asset. It's digital money that people are willing to pay for. But then the contrary to that is, well, it's an experiment in decentralization, something that can't be
Hmm.
hacked. So therefore, it makes sense. And also, it's the creation of cryptocurrency. But with that being said, anything that pops up and claims to be the next Bitcoin, and even if they do what Bitcoin is doing, but better, it's not going to be, in my opinion. It's just going to be a load of shit that
Oh,
falls.
absolutely. No, I
I
mean,
mean,
don't get me wrong. I definitely see the value of Bitcoin. It's just my point being that Bitcoin isn't worth anything it's only worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. Because otherwise, when it first launched, it would have been $100,000 a token. It had to build value in people's eyes and adoption for that value to go up. It's the same with anything. It's just basically, do you see the value? And I see the value in Arrow.
yeah, so there would need to be massive changes to the tokenomics of Arrow for it to
Mhm.
have a shot, I think. Big changes because that VE33 model, like it is inflationary for the reward token. Like it's a super inflationary tokenomics model. It looks
Well,
like a scheme that could fall apart at some point.
the problem, David, is that there's been multiple times we've talked about this topic, and you don't have all the facts right on the arrow tokenomics.
Oh,
I guess.
great. Well, then tell me what did I get wrong?
Well, when we were texting earlier, I was telling you the new token is going to be 85% more deflationary.
Right, but
And
that hasn't launched yet. It's still
how
not there
and
though,
when that,
right?
and when that launches, the people that are holding the arrow token and the velo token are going to be awarded that token.
Right,
So
but so
that's why
so Mike, is that a when or an if? I'm not clear on
that is
whether
a win.
so the
It is
governance proposal's been voted
it,
on, and so
it's
what's the
been
date?
announced. There was a whole actually here, I got it pulled up here. There was a whole, it was streamed, like the whole thing was streamed. There was like a couple of hours where they were talking about the new arrow platform that's launching in Q2, the new tokenomics, like all of it. And I highly suggest that if you have the time that you go take a look. It's called a MetaDex 03 is what Dromos is, the company that built Velodrome and Aerodrome.
So
And so,
Q2 you
yes,
said?
Q2 of 2026.
So what between now and then? Because
I
if
stack
that
Arrow so that whenever that new token comes out, I get more of it.
okay, gotcha. Gotcha.
So
So how do rewards get paid when this, I guess, merge takes place? Because the whole incentive structure for those VE33 dexes is you provide liquidity, and in exchange you earn this reward token. The VE33 is just a scheme for dexes to attract TVL without having to like have a real marketing budget. It looks like it's just a tokenomic scheme to attract TVL. But if that's
I would agree
completely
with that at the beginning, absolutely. But like I said, with this new platform and the new tokenomics, it and with institutional like JP Morgan, launching on Base Network, and there's a bunch of RWAs, institutional RWAs that are going to be launching on the new Aerodrome platform. I think that it's shifting gears to become more than what you're talking about.
oh, I'm
And
sure it will
again,
be. I'm sure
and
it will
and,
be.
and again,
Yeah.
that's why I'm so bullish on Arrow and why I'm trying to stack so much Arrow. Is it a gamble? Absolutely.
Yeah, but
Is
it's not
crypto
clear
a
though.
gamble? Absolutely.
So
So
it seems to me like some of the arguments that you're making right now, Mike, they remind me a lot of the arguments that XRP guys make, where it's like, oh yeah, in Q2, this maybe will probably happen, and it
but
could mean
this
this.
isn't maybe.
Well, it
This is
seems like it's a pretty big maybe, bro. Like it
it's
doesn't seem like it's a for sure because you can't give
you
me any
really
details
need
or
to go and
specifics.
actually educate yourself on this
That's the exact
because
argument that XRP guys make. You know, it's always about educating. I need to be more educated. maybe I stupid,
you
but
can
it seems like a bunch of
the
bullshit, bro.
information's there, but XRP is a much different story. I can go with you toe to toe on XRP too. XRP, I was bullish on it for 4 or 5 years. I know every in and out of it. I know how the XRPL works, RLUSD, all of it. And it's all still all speculation. You
That's
can
what
look at
this
the
sounds like.
data.
This sounds like speculation because if you don't have specifics about the new tokenomics model, then
There
like just saying that it's going to be 85% deflationary, I don't even know what that means.
then you need to go educate yourself.
Well, why
Wait,
can't
That's
wait,
you
does
why can't you
85%
educate me?
deflationary?
What does that mean? What does
that's
85%
what I'm doing. That's what I'm
deflationary
trying to do
mean?
right
Deflationary mean
now.
they're going to deflate the supply by 85% per year? Because if so, that sounds
How the hell does
or
that work?
that
Like
they
how do
pay
you
fees or something. I don't know.
like how do you
So the
reward?
difference between XRP and what's going on with Aerodrome is with XRP, everything is there's a new partner and they're going to build on the XRPL, which
Right,
almost
right.
never materializes.
There's never any
Whereas
there. Yeah, yeah.
that's pretty much XRP in a nutshell. Is there's always the boom. Somebody posts and they're like boom. This new partner.
Right, Right, exactly.
But you can look at the on-chain data. I mean, you can go to the XRPL Explorer and see. I mean, it's pretty much flatlined. As far as adoption, for the past year. Wallet addresses, all of it. It's just flatlined. There's
Yeah.
nothing going on with it.
But for Arrow, why tell me about this 85% deflationary? Like I don't understand. What does that
I,
mean? They're
I'll,
doing
I'll, I'll be honest that they haven't given out all the details for
That's
that
my
out yet.
point, bro. That's exactly my point. So you don't know what the hell you're talking about, Mike. If you're saying in Q2 it's going to be this and that, but you don't
All right,
even
David,
know
let's
what
do
it
this.
means, like
Slow
how
down.
can you
Slow down.
say
You're
that
getting worked
I
up.
need to educate myself?
You're getting worked up. So let's hit the pause button. As this evolves, and I learn more, then I'll educate you on it. But what I'm saying is when you have Coinbase, when you have JP Morgan Chase, when you have all of these that are coming out, when you have the fact that Velodrome and Aerodrome are merging, when you have the fact that they're coming out with a new token, when you have the fact that Aerodrome is almost 70%, actually over 70% of the volume on the base network.
Probably not a good thing. Not a good thing that it is.
Why?
Well, because if there's an exploit, what happens to the base chain?
Mm,
Well, it
point.
depends on what type of exploit.
I think any exploit would probably be bad.
People talk about quantum computing, cracking Bitcoin. That's an exploit.
There's an argument to be made about decentralization on a chain like Base, with Coinbase having so much sway, I would say. And there's also an argument to be made against any chain that has a protocol that makes up for the majority of the TVL. And I mean like a vast majority, like 70%.
Well, it doesn't have the mass
For
majority of the
decentralization
TVL.
specifically.
Morpho has a lot more TVL than Arrow.
And I would say something, but like Dex wise, for example, if there's no liquidity, there's no trading. If there's no trading, there's no getting on Morpho, or sorry, there's no getting on the chain. If there's no getting on the chain, there's no Morpho. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
But that's just the argument to be made in decentralization. But
Yeah.
Like, but
I have mixed opinions on this, man. Like
no. I mean, I get where David's coming from. It's
are
just
they moving in the right direction? Sure, like they're moving in the right direction. It's a question of how far are they from the finish line. And truth be told, there's never a finish line. But when I say finish line, I mean a model that like makes complete sense. And I would say the same thing about Uniswap. You know, are they moving in the right direction with their proposal? Sure. Are they there yet? No. And that's just the argument to be made. And I guess it comes down to your investment thesis, your risk tolerance, and how you invest at the end of the day. But like for me, like I'm looking for business models. I'm not looking for anything crazy. I'm looking for business models that generate revenue, that bring that revenue back into the ecosystem, whether it's through buybacks and burns, whether it's through staking, or whatever it may be, as opposed to business models that are like, okay, you provide liquidity, we print money, we give that to you, and then ultimately you take the money that we just printed and then you go and you lock it up. And then after you lock it up, we're going to give you more money that we just printed. And then we're also going to use the fees to then go and burn money. I'm like, at that point, like, why not just take the fees and give it to the give it to the people that stake the token? That's my argument on it. It's like, it seems like an overly complicated model to attract TVL, and that's exactly what it was made to be when these protocols were first launched, a means
absolutely.
of attracting TVL. And it worked, and I think now they're at a point where it's like they grew so much that
It's
it's like,
time to switch
okay,
gears.
how do we switch gears without like flipping the switch and being a completely different model and disappointing all the people that are holding this? You
Exactly.
can't just transition. It's like Ethereum chain can't just become the level of Solana tomorrow, nor would we want it to be like, but
Arrow just can't go trans.
In which direction? In which
It
direction would it
doesn't
go?
matter either way.
That's funny. I don't know, man. I think about like the idea of the VE33 incentive scheme. Like it worked really well to attract TVL, but
Yeah.
will it survive? And when I look at all the other VE33 dexes, like the thing about Aerodrome that makes it good is Coinbase. Aerodrome was not a great dex to use
No, not
for
at all.
a long time, you
No,
know?
dude, trust me. Yeah, that's why I've used VFAT
So,
so much. Is
yeah,
I hated Uniswap as well, just
yeah.
because of the fact that you had to, sell some of your asset into another asset, so you had both assets to get in the pool. With VFAT, you're just like, I want to use this asset, do it for me.
Yeah,
You
so I
know,
mean, I guess, Mike, but the problem for me with Arrow is that I don't think that incentive scheme is viable long term at all.
Well, and
And
I would say
so,
that they agree, and that's why they're changing it up is, like, all the protocols do is they, like when Morpho Aave was freaking out about Morpho starting to suck up, so much of the kind of the market share. And so, they came out with, a couple of different things to try to draw, liquidity, back over to them. But I think that as this technology evolves, a lot of these protocols are going to evolve as well. And I totally agree that the VE33 model is was to attract initial liquidity. And I think that now Aerodrome sees that, all right, we have the liquidity, we have the adoption. Coinbase is making us part of their platform. We've matured enough now. We need to switch it up. We need to make the token less inflationary, so that, like, your concern of basically what is the point of holding this token if there's less of it in circulation and it's deflationary or more deflationary. Then it incentivizes people to, the fees that they earn, to lock them and take them out of circulation and earn fees off of it, or earn yield, which is what me and a lot of people do. So yeah,
hey,
no,
hey,
it's
hey, Mike, there's a comment here in the chat from Twinklebell, and Twinklebell was asking, David, what do you propose as an alternative? That's a good question, because I can't just come out here and shit on something all day without proposing some type of alternative. I don't know. I think I prefer to provide liquidity where I earn yield paid in the tokens I'm providing in the first place. So that usually means Uniswap.
Arrow
Um,
does that.
yeah. Well, right, but you have to not stake, and then 10% of the yield goes
That is
to, I
correct.
think it goes to stakers,
That is correct.
the arrow lockers, I think.
100%.
Yeah. So, if I'm only going to earn 90% of the yield, whereas if I head on over to Uniswap, I can earn 100% and, get it paid in the same tokens.
Well,
Um,
I mean, it
you
depends
see what
on
you
what
see what I'm
you're
saying
earning
though?
in each
Like,
of the pools. I mean, if you're in a
true.
USDC ETH pool and you earn more on Aerodrome than you do on ETH, the 10% might not matter. Or
Yeah.
if you might earn more on Uniswap, plus you get 100%, not 90%, and you're making a bunch more.
Right. Yeah.
There's a lot
I
of
mean,
variables.
I guess the thing that I would propose as an alternative is I just don't like the incentive scheme because I don't think that it is good. That's me. But I would prefer to be on Uniswap. So yeah, man. But I hope it works, man. And on a positive note, Nvidia has pumped after hours. So Nvidia reported and popped higher, and it's been levitating the Nasdaq. So the Nasdaq, pushing a little bit higher in the after hours session has been positive for Bitcoin and Ethereum. Ethereum back above 3,000, BTC back above 91K. So, hey, you know what? Maybe Nvidia can give us the boost that we need to end this route, this route in digital assets. Maybe we get a little bit of a bounce. So we'll see.
Hopefully.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, Jensen Huang must have come out and said that every man, woman, and child on planet Earth is going to buy some NVIDIA chips. In fact, they're all buying 10 million chips each. We're selling it to everyone. I don't know, but
It's, I don't see how much higher that freaking thing can go.
So
Like,
Jacob in the chat, he said recovery or bull trap. And I mean, so what Jake presented earlier with the Kobayashi letter,
mhm.
those are some really good macro reasons to be bullish over the course of years, maybe a year or 18 months. But this immediate term stuff with Nvidia popping after hours on earnings, you guys, there are some really good reasons to be cautious about this AI trade. That circular financing, like if any of these players, bites the dust, then it could bring them all down, which would require some type of a bailout. So it's like there are good reasons to be concerned about the AI trade, I think. And is this bounce in NVIDIA setting up a bull trap where we get a couple of points to the upside and then it just turns back around and gives it all back? I don't know, man. Seasonally, this is when we start to see some type of Santa Claus rally, and maybe Nvidia will give us a Santa rally. But it's got to be able to levitate all the rest of the Mag 7 items. And, because Mag 7 is the market, like the market is like 40% these Mag 7 items. So if you think that you're diversified buying the SPY or the Qs, oh, what happened, Mike? Did you
Ah,
win? Big
no,
winning?
I
Oh,
I forgot that the 3 o'clock. I needed to vote on my before 3 o'clock. I needed to vote on my
oh,
freaking.
dude.
No, I
Well,
have I have I have one that is I'm voting manually.
oh
Luckily, I
shit.
I put some of them in the at Maxi relay, so those I'll be fine on. But the one that
Just
it automatically votes for the pool that I voted for last week, but it's not
yeah.
going to
Just
much.
blame me, bro. That's all you gotta do. Blame
All
me.
right,
I'm
David.
talking
Damn
all
it,
this
David.
shit on Arrow. Yeah, man.
Oh, it's all good,
It's
man.
all good.
I I don't get too emotional about my bags and stuff like that. I get I get more excited about just learning about this technology and how it evolves, and just kind of you know I mean obviously I care about my bags and I want them to go up and stuff, but um the big thing that I've learned is I focus less on price and more on longevity. Just and especially on things like Arrow, where you earn, because even if it goes down and it finds its natural level at 30 cents, over time I'm going to make that back.
True.
And
That's
and if
true.
it stays and it settles at that level, then I can get very sustainable returns over time.
For sure. Yeah,
So
you definitely
that
can.
I wouldn't be unhappy with that. If Aerodrome it's settled at around some price, and it just gave me good steady 30%, 40% APR forever, to me that would be awesome. It's just a way to augment my income. I'm I kind of have a different mindset, I think, than most people. I'm not really looking to get rich. I'm just looking to augment my monthly income once I make my nut. I got to make my nut first so that I have enough liquidity to where I'm making a couple thousand dollars a month steadily. That's really all I'm trying to accomplish. I'm not trying to make millions, and I'm not trying to buy a Lambo. I want to do a little studio out here on the property, and be able to take a trip every once in a while, and I'm good. So,
I hear
but
you, bro. I hope that everything works out for Arrow. I really do. And for you, Mike. I really
and
do,
it might
man.
not. I mean, it could go to zero like anything else. I mean, that's the reality that we all need to understand when we're investing in these speculative markets. It's any. I mean, the dollar could go to zero. You know what I mean?
So Mike, like I was listening to a guy on YouTube the other day, and not a doomer or anything like that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I know that we're well over time, but they say that complex systems fail slowly and then all at once.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was just thinking to myself, like, man, like, what would happen if the US dollar overnight went to zero? I don't think that would happen, right? But if you read history, every other empire with a reserve currency, it's eventually not existed anymore. So that was a scary thought, but I don't
And
know,
that's
man.
I got all my bases covered. I got water, shelter, food. I got all the things that I need up here. So it's I got crypto. If that pans out, I got my retirement. That will take care of me the rest of my life. And if everything goes to shit, I got my cabin in the middle of nowhere. So
Well, you better have guns and ammo for all those crazy people coming after your arrow.
I got plenty of that too. They can have my arrow, but they can't have my silver or my gold.
Oh man,
That's right,
gentlemen.
Definitely a good session, I'd say, guys.
Yeah,
Oh, absolutely. No,
fun.
I actually I love debate. I mean, when it's spirited but respectful, I love debate. So, David, thank you very much. I love having my thought processes challenged because, to be honest, as soon as we're done here, I'm going to see if I can find, any new details, over the past couple of days that maybe they came out with, what does that 85 deflationary, percent deflationary aspect, look like? So, that's what is healthy about debate and why I didn't like, the whole XRP thing is it was just an echo chamber of everybody saying the same things and just nodding at each other. I want people challenging, my thought processes and my
What do you mean,
investment.
Mike? XRP is going to $10,000, bro. What are you talking about?
I know I'm an idiot for selling it. I just don't want money. I hate money. That's what it is.
Checks out.
Well, again, thank you, gentlemen. As always, I appreciate you taking the time. And till next time, Veteran Crypto out.
Peace.